Hi, yesterday I bought you a video called White Extinction, why they want to build a wall. And I showed you the European world meter. And now I'm about to show you the African live world meter. As you can see, this is a live world meter. You see that number is constantly changing. On the first video, you will note that the number is hardly moving at all. We're in a world of information that we must be careful and take things seriously and be conscious about them. You wonder why they're killing our people. And I'm showing you why. You wonder why they want to build a wall. Well, building a wall is kind of like the same ideology as segregation and apartheid. This time, they're going after the Latino populations, and they want to build a wall on this landmass to prevent the Latino population from walking on their own landmass. Actually, essentially, those are American Indians, and blocking them out. They've created a world they believe belongs to them, and that is this country, whereas the majority of them came into this country after post-slavery. So they knew what they were getting into when they came into this country, that it was multicultural, and to try to claim that this is a European country when this isn't Europe. So this is also a race issue, and when I talk about race is created, so I'm not talking about it in a sense of that I want to be racist. I want us to know what's going on with these so-called white supremacists that are actually European supremacists. And if they want to feel like they're supreme, they can return to Europe because they never assimilated into this country. And their agenda proves it. And do they have a malicious agenda? They do. So we're going to talk about African populations between 1950 to current 2018. We're going to look at those graphs there. If you watched the first video, you would have known that you would see what I'm going to show you is going to be similar. We're going to talk about yearly population growth rates as well. What I do want to point out now is on the Euro chart, this number starts out at 0, 0 down here, and it starts at 0, 0 on this line. On our line, it says 0.75, 1.50, and 2.25. Okay. So I just want to point out these marginal lines here, where this is the line. And they talk about bell curves. I'm going to say that now. We talk about the bell curve on IQs, where Europeans say they find themselves way up here on the bell curve, and they find us way down here they find us. Let me do that again. They find themselves way up here on the bell curve, and they find us way down here on the bell curve of intelligence. However, for me, IQ has to do with surviving the planet Earth. And when you look at these numbers, they've miserably failed in the acuity to survive the planet. And that is, they're aware of it. And I showed you that in the last video, the topics that they're covering that we're not aware of, what those topics are about, and so on and so forth. But this is what has created this environment today of such a militia towards those that are non-European. We're going to talk about subregions in Africa. The areas are Eastern Africa, Western Africa, Northern Africa, Middle Africa, and Southern Africa. The current population in Africa is as noted. I showed you that. This number would be at the beginning of the day, beginning of August 19th, 2018, based on the United Nations estimate. The African population is equivalent to 16.64% of the total world population. And Africa, we rank number 2 amongst the population regions of the world. So we are number 2. And if you remember, I showed you that Europeans are the third world in the sense that they ranked number 3. Africans ranked number 2 in their populations. So with that, they are third. They are last. So I'm going to go back up, and we saw that number as it's rapidly changing. And now I'm going to go on these graphs here. And 1951, the African world population was as stated here. And as we go along the line here, it was 1951. That's that number again. So I'm going to try to follow the line. And as it goes up, you could see that that number has increased when you compare it to that number up there. Okay, this number has increased, and it continued to increase as the curve goes higher. We have a supreme survival rate. We're continuing to procreate and have children in spite of all of the pressures that have been put on us by certain other groups in the world when they came into this region and did a lot of harm. We have continued to outpace them in surviving the planet. We have a high acuity, a very high IQ to survive the planet, something that they have failed miserably at. I'm not saying it on a racial level. I'm saying it on an ethnic level, and that because they've tried so much ethnic cleansing, and this is the reason for ethnic cleansing, When you look at their numbers compared to others, they are trying to commit genocide, but they want it to look like it's not genocide. And then you have these people murdering people, and they just get away with it. We talked about on the other video about the population. In order to maintain a population, it has to be 2.1 or above, and that is because you have to have at minimal 2 children and another, so in case you lose one of your children. So having more children, for them that's a bad thing, but for us it's a good thing because it puts us in that majority category worldwide. As we could see that in 1953, the world yearly growth in Africa was 2.13. That is above. That is a little inch above what it takes to maintain a population. And so as we go on up, we'll see that that number increases. It increasingly gets larger. And then it looks like there's a little dip right right here. Well, it really wasn't, because it's continuing to rise. That number 2.72, 2.76, 2.79, 2.82, that's 3 children right there. 2.85, 2.87. This is in the 80s. I mean, we're just like outpacing them. Their numbers are 0.4, 0.4. I mean 0.5. I think it was 0. It was 0.98. You know, that's barely having one child. And okay, let me see. I think I got a little stuck there. Let that kind of come back to itself. So here we are in 1989 at 0.87. I mean 2.77. When in 1989 or I think it was 89 or 90, they had dropped down below the population bell curve, the acuity to survive. And here it is. Our numbers are 3 children per family. When you have that above 5 number, 2.5, we're steadily having children throughout the years. As the years go on, we're at 2003, 2.49. So we kind of dipped down here. We're at 2.5 here. And as we get up here, we're starting to increase again. That's 2.58, 2.6, 2.62, 2.63, 2.63, 2.63. They're over there doing some damage in Africa now, as we know. And it's 2.57. So we're starting to see the number drop some. But it's still at a healthy 2.52. Remember the number I showed you on the last video, that Europeans are at 0.08%, and their population, they're absolutely going extinct. You wonder why. All of the problems with the recent racism. When we got through here, on their population bell curve, it went down below. It's curved down below 0. It went to minus 0.05. It went as low as minus 0.02. And it inclined and went up to only 0.8 almost 20 years later. So this is what I wanted to show you. And I need you to look at that other video. And we're looking at how rapidly this number is changing. So this is why I want you to go pull this up. You look at it, you start paying attention to what's going on, because we're going to need to know to be ready if it comes. We are a diversity, a multicultural country. We actually have them outnumbered because they want to divide the races. I had somebody send me a message the other day to tell me that Mexicans hated us, and that's a lie. That's an absolute lie. There's hatred in every one of the groups of ethnic groups, but it has to do with racial constructs, not ethnicities as much, because people do respect culture naturally. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video. I want to get to that video I promised that I was going to show. And this video will be White Extinction, Why They Want to Build a Wall, Part 2. Okay, I'm going to continue here. And I pulled up the Q. White Extinction is the label of the videos I'm going to show you listed under here. I've shown on the last, but I want to go through just to show you these are topics that are on the table. These are not made up. They are not pseudo. This is for real. I showed you the world meter, the Euro world meter live, and also the African world meter live. Is the white race under threat in America? I talked about that term, white race, is a social construct and us getting away from it. But I'm going to move on just to show you what's in this queue. More Caucasians dying than being born. A study by the U.S. Census Bureau shows Caucasians could be a minority sooner than previously thought. White extinction, a topic. The great replacement. This lady, Lauren Southern, claims that there's white genocide. They've changed the name from extinction to genocide. Death rates among middle-aged white America on the rise. National Review, Julian Mellaclure and New Oak Capital James on a new study supporting a rise in the deaths among middle-aged white Americans are on the rise. Young white people dying from colorectal cancer. The death rate amongst whites rising at an alarming rate. Minorities become the majority. Have you watched any of these videos? This is the video we will be watching. White people trending towards extinction, which I showed you that on the world meter. We can go down and break it down. The United States population, country by country, on who they are, and you will see they are a minority. Study, minorities soon to outnumber whites. This RT-TV is a Russian TV America, showing that the Russians have something to do with this propaganda regarding white extinction. Does white extinction, does white extinction, meaning does it exist? Killing off whites is so unremarkable, whatever they're going to say in that video. One of the propaganda props that they have used is the white rhino has become extinct or becoming extinct. They're using that, the last male northern white rhino on the earth. You see it's under this particular footage. That is really about helping the rhino, but they're using that as part of their propaganda. That is when they come and say the last white male. And I tell them, no, it's the last white female, the last European female, because she's not able to produce children. Rumble, O'Reilly fears the end of white America. Are white people going extinct? These, I've named off several of these topics. Facing extinction and an encounter with the last northern white rhino. As you could see, they're using that genocide extinction story to go along with the propaganda. And they're using this white people thing as a false representation because these are Europeans, they're immigrants. Extinction, white people are dying off. So I didn't create this. I don't want it to look like I'm talking about this on a racial level, a racist level. The coming extinction of white people, bro Louis Farrakhan, even Farrakhan News. Neely Fuller, Junior White Extinction, The Ultimate Goal, N-word definition, Black supremacy. And that is a video that aired about it as well. White extinction anxiety, quality feels like oppression. Some brother created that one. Whites are supposed to go extinct. Red Ice TV. Red Ice is one of those sites for sure. And whites are going extinct proof. See what I'm saying? So, hey, this is, what do you think they're going to do about this now? Wake up now. Heroin, white American extinction. See this? We talked about the drugs being part of the lowering in the numbers. So I'm going to go ahead back up, and I want to click on that video because this video is 20 minutes long right now, as we talked about the African population. So we're going to talk, I'm going to click it on white people trending towards extinction. I'm going to open that up to the full screen. Oops, let me hold on a minute.
Now, the first question is probably extinction. And for some assumptions on the background, for the purpose of this demonstration, we'll consider whites, non-Hispanic whites, versus Latino. Whites are 12% of the Earth's population and declining to 9% by 2060. And here's the extinction part. White birth rate is below replacement levels.
They're already at 9%, 9.83%.
Worldwide, whites are at 1.8 children per woman, whereas 2.1 is necessary to sustain a population. The 0.1 being to make up for accidental deaths or disease.
Okay, remember I talked about, it says worldwide, whites equal 1.5 children per woman. When to maintain a population, you need 2.1 is necessary to sustain your population. So I talked about that. We talked about white birth rates is below replacement levels on every European, every Western nation. No, it's worldwide. We talked about that as well. And I showed you that it's worldwide. I showed you the world meter. Okay?
Some examples, Australia is at 1.77, Russia 1.6, Germany and Italy around 1.4. And one fact, fewer babies were born in Italy in 2014 than in any year since the Italian state was created.
Fewer babies were born worldwide between 1997 and 2003 worldwide for the Europeans. We saw that as well on the world meter, which is a live world meter. It's they did this some of this information is doctored.
The chart from the UN, the orange one in particular, is the most important, and that is showing that ignoring
look at the bell curve. See the curve?
The population of Europe is due to
the curve to survive, the acuity to live. This is what being spoiled and wanting people to and thinking you're supreme does to your race or to your ethnicity group.
Every race should support their own people and want them to exist. Everyone who supports race.
Every race should support their own people and want them to exist. Really? That this is to go against multiculturalism. There's no such thing as race. And when these people came from Europe, they knew they were coming into a multicultural continent. There were millions of slaves here, ex-slaves now, when they arrived. And there were millions of Native Indians and other groups of people. So it says everyone who supports racial diversity should support the continued existence of all races, but they don't. That's why they created eugenics to control the population so that the numbers of other people groups would not continue to rise and theirs continue to decline on that bell curve.
Racial diversity should support the continued existence of all races. And white people have brought some good things to the world.
He said that white people have brought a lot of good things to the world, but he doesn't state what they did. And I'm going to get a close look on his face as he said that. Look at it. You have not done and brought good things into the world because number one, you're not white, and secondly, you guys are Europeans pretending to be white. And so, how did you bring any good things into the world? Why won't you say European people have brought a lot of good things to the world? Because then you can go back and research Europe and see that that's an absolute lie.
Let's look into some of the causes. One, obviously everybody knows the invention of birth control causes a reduction in birth rates across all races. Proliferation of pornography is a more modern trend. Studies show that it decreases motivation and ambition. It makes people less satisfied with their physical relationships. And it subconsciously normalizes your sexual partner being with other people. Another one is some aspects of feminism has overshot their target. And in removing barriers to females and emphasizing the value that they bring, in some areas, they've overreached into the stigmatization of things. One outcome of this and other factors is that over 50% of marriages in the USA fail, and only 31% of them are initiated by the man. A lot of people aren't aware of that. Alimony and child support are often granted women at a rate equal to what is accustomed to, not necessarily what's sufficient, which can provide a perverse incentive for people to marry the richest person that they can, regardless of whether they like them, because in the event of a divorce,
the reason I'm
and
putting this video up is to show you that they are having real presentations about this. They're having actual presentations about this topic that you're not aware of. So what are they going to do about this? So you see why it's necessary that they want to build. You see why it's necessary that they want to build a wall? Building a wall is a racist thing. It is to divide. It is to create an environment for them to be able to have more children. So what are they going to do with us, African Americans, that have a citizens of the United States title through the 14th Amendment, and that occurred before they came? They came to commit genocide. They came and pushed us out of work, out of any type of funding that was going to be spent on people. They actually came in and just took all of the money. And they lied that Reconstruction never occurred. Well, it did occur. They spent all the money on themselves. They spent it on Europeans coming to this country and getting them set up and giving them educations and turning them into white Americans. That is what happened. And that's why you can't respect the term white as a people. It's a false construct, and you must start looking at them as Europeans. And when you can figure out which country they come from, you can assign them to their country. And when you do, you will see they're all minorities in this part of the world. They're minorities in their own part of the world.
Sharp compared to the last one, that there's significantly more females, even in the master's degrees, than there are men. And you can see the increasing rate of average age of mother at first birth is being delayed significantly. Other causes related in Dr. Weston's class, Claire, Bronte, and Leah, and I'm not picking on you, presented Lean In, Women, Work, and the Will to Lead by Cheryl Sandberg, And the main takeaway was that America needs more women CEOs, and that women need to put work before family in order to achieve this. And in particular, to reach the level of CEO, a lot are foregoing families altogether. And part of this presentation is to say that there should be value placed on motherhood as well, and that sometimes it's undervalued in modern society. One tweet: feminism is mixed up with the muddled idea that women are...
I think I want to kind of speed ahead on this video here as he goes through that, because you can go and watch the video. I want to shorten this video. We're at 30 minutes.
And you see the widest fucking room in the history of time. It's just unbelievably white. And I just thought, we're casting the show, and we have an opportunity to do anything we want. Why not cast the show with actors of color? Now, I wonder if you switched the races in here, and you said the whitest effing room for a different race, would that be acceptable? Probably not. But when it's white, that becomes acceptable. NBA gets an A for diversity. Shows